Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of the financial world, and sometimes we find a company that really tried to reinvent itself. This is CITRINE Global Corp, or as they are now called, SkyTech Orion Global Corp, filing their quarterly report. They've been busy changing names and directions, and we're going to unwrap it all to see what's really going on. First off, let's look at how many owners this company has. As of the end of June 2025, there were over 1 billion shares of common stock out there. By September 3rd, that number had grown to over 1.2 billion. So they've been issuing more stock, which can dilute the value of existing shares if new money isn't coming in at the same pace. Now, let's dive into the heart of the report, the financial statements. Here we have the balance sheet. This is like a snapshot of the company's assets, what it owns, its liabilities, what it owes, and its equity, what's left over. For the owners were about $1.2 million, a pretty small amount for a publicly traded company. That's down from about $1.6 million at the end of 2024. Their cash balance is tiny, just $8,000. That's not a lot of breathing room. On the flip side, their total current liabilities, what they owe in the short term, were over $4 million. This means they owe a lot more in the short term than they have in liquid assets like cash. That's a classic sign of a company under financial pressure. And look at this, their total stockholders deficit is a negative $3.5 million. This basically means the company owes more than it's worth. It's a hole they need to climb out of. Next up, the statement of operations. This shows how much money the company made or lost over a period. For the first 6 months of 2025, they had a net loss of $942,000. That's an improvement from the $1.5 million loss they had in the same period in 2024. So they are losing less money, which is good, but they are still losing money. They spent $63,000 on research and development in the first half of 2025, up from nothing in the prior year. This suggests they are investing in something new. Then you have marketing, general, and administrative expenses. These went down from $667,000 in the first half of 2025. This reduction seems to be mainly because of how they account for giving stock to employees, which is not a cash expense. This statement tells us how the owner's stake in the company changed over time. Looking at the bottom line here, the total stockholders deficit grew from a negative $2,024 to a negative $3.5 million by June 2025. This shows the ongoing financial challenges. Now let's talk about cash flow. This tells us where the company's cash is coming from and where it's going. For the first 6 months of 2025, they used $116,000 in operations. They also got some cash from financing activities like loans, bringing in $123,000 on hand. The company has gone through some major shifts. They were originally in the wellness and plant-based health sector, but with the war in Israel and its economic impact, they decided to pivot. In June 2025, they officially changed their name to SkyTech Orion Global Corp. This new name reflects their new focus on defense, UAV, and drone solutions. It shows a big strategic change. Their Israeli operations are pretty central. They have subsidiaries like CTGL CITRINE Global Israel Limited and Cannovation Center Israel Limited, which was renamed SkyTech Orion Limited. They have a credit facility, which is like a line of credit, a loan they can draw from. In March 2025, they actually increased this loan facility to about $283,000. The interesting part is that there are personal guarantees from the CEO and a director, and the company has promised to protect them from any losses related to these guarantees. This shows how much they rely on leadership's personal commitment. Let's look at stock options. People who work for the company can get options to buy shares. As of the end of 2024, there were over 121 million options outstanding. The average price to buy these shares is very low, just about 2.6 cents. This is common for companies trying to incentivize employees when the stock price is low. They recognized about $47,000 in costs related to these stock options in the first half of 2025. There's still about $4,000 in costs that haven't been accounted for yet, which they expect to recognize over the next year or so. This section talks about transactions with people or companies that are closely connected to the company, like executives or major shareholders. They spent $63,000 on research and development that's related to parties, and then $17,000 for general administrative expenses, which includes director compensation. They also have $324,000 in accounts payable to related parties. This means they owe money to people or companies connected to them. There's also $711,000 in convertible notes with related parties. These are loans that can turn into stock. This section covers important things that happened during and right after the reporting period. Back in January 2025, a company called Dear Light Limited invested $38,000 in exchange for shares and warrants. Warrants give them the right to buy more shares later at a set price. A really big event was in January 2025 when their Israeli subsidiary got a government grant worth about $3.4 million from the Israeli Ministry of Economy. This grant is specifically for building an innovation and production center for defense-grade UAV and drone solutions. This is a huge deal and a clear sign of their strategic shift. To meet the grant requirements, they also got a bank guarantee for about $87,000 backed by personal guarantees from their CEO and another person involved in building the center. Unfortunately, they also had to record an impairment loss of about $431,000 related to an investment in Nanomedic. This means that investment lost a lot of its value due to Nanomedic's financing round. It's really important to know that almost all of their operations, their leadership, everything important happens in Israel. This means things happening in Israel, like the war that started in late 2023, directly and heavily affect them. Up until late 2024, they were focused on wellness products, but with the war, they couldn't really push those plans forward. So they looked around and said, hey, this wellness thing isn't working as well as we hoped given the circumstances. It's time for a change. They have this land in Yerushalayim, Israel that the government supports, and they saw a big opportunity there, especially with Israel's focus on defense and drones. They decided to lean into that and become a player in the defense and drone industry. Their business description now clearly states their new focus. They own 100% of CTGL CITRINE Global Israel Limited. And they have a majority stake, 69.5%, in Innovation Center Israel, which is now SkyTech Orion Limited. That land in Yerushalayim, about 125,000 square feet, is key. They plan a big innovation center there for defense tech. And remember that $3.4 million government grant. That's directly tied to building this defense-focused center. They are really betting big on drones and unmanned systems. They even state here that drones are the weapons of future wars and are transforming warfare as we know it. This is a bold statement and shows how serious they are about this pivot. The market for these kinds of technologies is huge, expected to reach over $160 billion by 2030. This is a massive opportunity if they can capture even a small piece of it. They specifically mention how the war in Ukraine showed the importance of small tactical drones, and that industry is now producing hundreds of thousands of them yearly. This is the kind of trend that they want to capitalize on. Operating in the defense sector means dealing with a lot of rules and regulations. Here they mention complying with Israeli Ministry of Defense rules and export controls. They are actively working on getting all the necessary approvals to play in this sensitive market. They also give us a look back at their old business. Before focusing on drones, they were all about wellness and plant-based health. But again, the war really put a damper on those plans, forcing them to look for new opportunities. They still own their wellness assets like stakes in other companies, but their main focus is now defense. They're figuring out how to use those old assets in their new defense strategy. Their main office is in Israel, and that land in Yerushalayim is a really central piece of their strategy. Remember, Dear Light Limited investing $138,000, that was in early 2025, for shares and warrants as a sign of moving towards more serious business operations. They approved a directors and officers insurance policy. This is basically insurance for the company's leaders. A key point here is that in June 2025, the board recognized that their CEO Ora El-Harar Sofa was personally investing a lot and supporting the company with her own money and guarantees. So they decided to give her company with her own money and guarantees. So they decided to give her company Base Home Technologies Limited some anti-dilution protection for its stake in the drone subsidiary. This means if the company issues more shares, her stake won't lose as much value. It shows a strong reliance on her personal backing. Let's revisit the financial results and what drove them. They still have zero revenue from product sales as of June 30, 2025. They haven't sold anything yet. The R&D spending has kicked in, which is expected for a company building new tech. They are upfront that this process is long, unpredictable, and risky. The decrease in marketing, general and administrative expenses, as mentioned earlier, is mostly due to how they account for stock-based compensation. It's not a cash saving, just an accounting difference. Looking at the 6 months of 2025 versus 2024, the net loss is down from 1.5 million to $942,000. While that sounds good, it's because their marketing and admin costs went down significantly, and they had a big investment impairment in 2024 that didn't repeat. They are still burning cash. Let's talk about their overall financial health and how they plan to stay afloat. Their current assets are barely moving higher, staying around $140,000. Not a lot of flexibility there. And that cash balance, it's a meager $8,000. That's almost nothing to run a company, especially one trying to break into the defense sector. They have a working capital deficiency of almost $3.9 million. This means they don't have enough short-term assets to cover their short-term debts. Management says they believe they have enough funds for the next year, relying heavily on that credit facility. But with such low cash reserves and a large working capital deficit, this is a very optimistic outlook. They are basically saying they are confident they can secure more funding or loans. The risk factors section is always a good place to look for potential problems. Their biggest risk is their location in Israel, especially with the ongoing conflict. This affects everything from operations to market perception. They are watching things closely, but the instability is a major wildcard. The exhibits section usually contains important supporting documents. You'll see certifications from the CEO and CFO confirming the accuracy of the report. A Kiwi Rutoitak Orion Global Corp is that they are in a very precarious financial position. They are burning through cash with very little revenue and a significant working capital deficit. Their pivot to the defense and drone industry is a high-risk, high-reward move. They are betting on massive market growth and government support in Israel. The government grant and the faith placed in their leadership personal guarantees show some promise, but the extremely low cash balance and huge debt are major red flags. They are essentially a startup with a lot of ambition but very little financial cushion. The success of this company hinges entirely on their ability to successfully execute their new strategy in the defense sector, and huge debt are major red flags. They are essentially a startup with a lot of ambition but very little financial cushion. The success of this company hinges entirely on their ability to successfully execute their new strategy in the defense sector and secure significant funding. It's a long shot. What's your take on this company's bold move into defense? Do you think they have what it takes to succeed given their financial situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more corporate deep dives. And don't forget to join our Discord community linked in the description to keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.